This meeting is being recorded.
Hello everyone, this is June 14th. This is a daily Scrum meeting. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen.
So I can give a sort of summary of where we are as far as I know. It's not looking good, honestly, given that we're supposed to be done tomorrow. The EDE for the last couple of days, we've been making progress on getting to the next stage in the EDE test, but I've got a test running right now. I can't check it because I'm in the car, but I can check it in an hour or so. But we get all the way through provisioning the clusters, provisioning the operator across all the clusters. And now the last place it was stuck, I think if the test is successful that's running right now, then where we should be getting to is that the AMF, the SMF, and the UPF deployment resources should be fully through the specialization pipeline and delivered to the workload clusters in the proper namespaces. So that's my hope for the fixes that I just put in. That's my hope for the fixes that I just put in. And then it's a matter of seeing that the operator picks those up and processes them properly. As of yesterday, that wasn't happening, but that may not have been the operator's issue. It's that the deployment objects themselves were not fully specialized. They were kind of empty. So it just may have had nothing to do with them. So, I'm hopeful that we might get to that stage in the test that's running right now, but there's still a lot of even if that's true, then I'll feel a lot more comfortable, but there's still a lot of documentation to write. And there's a couple of other end-to-end tests around capacity changes that if they go smoothly, maybe we'd be okay, but it's pretty, honestly, I would have liked to have been where we are today 2 weeks ago. So it's, I've been pushing really hard to try and get it done, but it's not looking good.
Yeah, thanks, John, for the update. Tal has his hands raised. Tal, please go ahead.
Yeah, I just on this topic, I had a chat with Kandan yesterday and kind of conveyed similar thing. We have the option of asking for an extension. I'll just say realistically, even if we release tomorrow, the actual release to the community and everything would happen in July, 1st and after, right? In terms of Linux Foundation and everything. So, we definitely don't want to prolong it too much, but I think we might have to. We're just not there yet. So possibly getting an extension for a week or two would can dramatically change the quality of our release.
Yeah, I think it would have to be 2 because I need a break and I've got PTO next week.
Me too, yeah.
And so I don't want to cancel my PTO for this. So as much as it's important to me to get this out the door. If we delayed it 2 weeks, that would give me a chance to get a little break. I had hoped to have it obviously off my chest before going on PTO, but anyway, so I'd be open to a 2-week push or something.
Sure, John. I think I agree with the assessment, depending on where we are. I know it's not ideal, but it's okay. We have seen this happen in kind of any project, especially in the first version of the project. I mean, it's okay. I think we made a very good progress, but a lot of moving parts here, right? So it's I think I agree with the assessment of both of you. Then if we get time for 2 more weeks, that would be great. I think we have a couple of hands raised. Vish, you're first, and then Anne.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you ask for 2 more weeks, that's great. I know I was thinking, I mean, I've been a delivery manager in the past. So when we ask for more week, I would actually want to make sure that there is no nice to haves coming in. Oh, it only take 5 minutes, 10 minutes. That is how we actually end up losing our, focus. That is my worry. I know it's a community. It is open source community. We all want to do it. But that is where my concern is, like, will we actually go off and add another feature if we get 2 more weeks? You see, there has to be some sort of a lockdown and something
agreed,
that means
agreed.
it has to be microscopically observed what goes in. That is where my concern is. Even back in we got it on May 30th, but if you see, we probably pushed in a lot of things. I mean, it's all great in the sense, but we don't want to end up in the same situation. We don't want to add more entropy to it. We want to actually reduce what goes in. That's my. I just wanted to raise it from my lessons learned. That's all. So please take it in the spirit of that.
Yeah, absolutely, Vish. I totally agree with you. I think in terms of what needs to be done, I don't think whatever is in the board, I think we need to work on that. I know if there are any bugs or anything, those issues can come in, but not in terms of features or anything else. I agree with you on that. Anne, please go ahead.
In that spirit, whatever's on the board, some of them are nice to have already, right?
That's true. That's true. Yes, absolutely. I agree
But
with you.
more importantly, I just want to confirm, if we push out 2 weeks, that means the end of June?
Correct.
Okay.
That
Because
sounds right.
so basically we're releasing right before July 1st or on July, around there. Right?
Yeah, I think that's realistic. To me, the
Okay.
issue isn't, this is why I actually suggested a week. It's true that John and I will be gone, but it doesn't mean other people will be gone. I know some people are traveling now too, so that's complicated, but I think everything that's nice to have, we can ignore. The only thing is we don't have end-to-end testing and we don't have documentation. So those are the 2 things that we absolutely need to complete. I think everything else could be, to follow the spirit of let's just release instead of keep delaying. But yeah, we can't release without it working, and it's not right now. And I don't think, to me, an undocumented project is a broken project. So for me, that also means it's not working if there's no documentation. Well, we have
So-
some, but it needs to
Yeah.
be finalized.
So can we agree right now that end-to-end testing and documentation are the only 2 things we'll work on in the next 2 weeks
Great.
or
great
week,
point.
whatever,
Great point. I mean, even I wanted to even say that if I was TS here, I'd be asking, why do you need 2 weeks? If you're working only on end-to-end test and documentation, can you give me a day-to-day status is probably what I would do, because that will actually make you focus only on end-to-end tests and documentation and nothing else.
Yeah, the other reason is like Tal said and John said, they'll be gone for a week. So, without them,
Yeah.
it's hard.
So just one caveat. I think I think what Anne you said is absolutely. I think that's the right thing to do. But I wanted to add one caveat. There are a few things here in the board, in addition to end-to-end test and documentation. That is, for example, there are a few bugs are there, and also some of the things related to SMF, UPF communication aspects. So those things are there. So I think probably those things also we'll be working on that. So in addition to that, so everything is in the spirit of making the network functions deployable. That's what I would say. For example, there are some. I can also clean up the board a little bit. I can take out all the nice to haves that is here in the board. I can move it to something like R2 or R1. Then probably we'll have a clear definition of what we need to do.
Yeah, I think that sorry, I'm jumping. I can't. Sorry if I'm jumping hands. I can't see them because I'm driving. But I think that the point is, right, when we say end-to-end test, if the tests can be written, that won't take long. It's that they pass. That means a bunch of bug fixes. That means all the stuff on the board, the SMF, the big one being that SMF UPF relationship needs to be solved in order for the end-to-end tests to flow all the way through. We have to find already what the end-to-end tests are. So we're not going to add, new ones that are, we're not going to add new functionality that I totally agree. It should be the end-to-end, getting the end-to-end test through. And for example, like the networking, we're going to run a static thing to get the networking going, like that's going to be one of the steps in the end-to-end tests. So agreed totally with, I think, the statement that, it's not just writing the end-to-end tests, it's getting them working.
Yeah, Steven said in the chat that the end-to-end means making a call, which means SMF and UPF have to be talking to each other, right? So that's
and everything else.
and everything else.
Yeah, all the NFs in 3.5GC
Yeah.
need to talk.
I'm not so sure about we're talking about GCE and not AWS, right? Because Ronald
Yeah,
asked.
let's limit that scope too. I mean,
Yeah.
let's make it work on one environment. So let's not
Yeah.
get too greedy. Yeah.
Actually, we were doing it on AWS. So sandbox is provisioned, but that AMF and SMF deployment, actually they are not, the board is not visible in under free 5GC namespace. That was my concern.
And it's not
That's
in the
why I
scope,
was asking.
right? It
It's
is
not
not
in
there in the list of items.
AMF, SMF, and UPF will go in their own namespaces. So there'll be a free 5GC AMF, free 5GC SMF namespace for each of those on the regional cluster. And there will be a free 5GC UPF namespace on the edge clusters.
On the edge
But
clusters,
that's
yeah.
not working yet.
Yeah,
That's
I
not
think
working.
our
That's
limitation,
That was my
is
question.
our limitation is the anything other than UPF needs to be running in the same cluster. I think the namespace stuff is still kind of, I think what John posted on Slack is still kind of not really there. But then at the very least, we know for sure the limitation is anything outside of UPF needs to run the same cluster. So that's for sure.
Yeah.
So we have a couple of, let's discuss this. 1 second. I think we have two hands raised. I think Venkat, you wanted to say something before Ravi?
No, I lowered my hand. I think Vala, you covered it. My point was we need to clean up the board and move the nice to have items to the backlog, so we know the most important items are on the board, and then we have a laser focus on completing only the most important items for the next couple of weeks. I guess you already covered it, so I lowered my hand. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Venkat. Yeah, that's a great one. Thank you. Yeah, I think we have Ravi's hands raised.
Yeah, and the only point I was going to add to that end-to-end test is like we should also include the call validation, right? Even after once you apply scaling and stuff. So I think that's the use cases we have to test once you redeploy the UPF with some new features and all that.
So make sure you can still do a call after you scale, is what you're saying.
Exactly. Yeah. Because you need to make sure the plumbing and functionality is still intact.
Are we confident we can do scaling? I think that's the question.
Yeah. We are pretty confident because that's been tested by the operator code's been tested. So as long as we can handle a pod restarting, we should be able to do scaling, right? Like the management cluster side of that is sort of well-established code from prior existence of, the tooling, and the operator code has been tested independently. So I'm not worried about the scaling. I'm just worried about getting.
By scaling, we're not scaling like a second instance of UPF or something like that, right? Are we?
Not in this.
Yeah,
because making a call from a
protocol.
single instance of UE ransom to two different UPFs, I'm not actually sure that would work yet.
No, I think scaling here, Stephen, I feel
it's just
my
CPUs and
understanding is
memory type stuff.
it's a
right?
scale up. It's
Yeah,
not
scale
even
up, right? So okay.
Scale up
Yeah,
basically.
that's fine.
Vertical scaling, yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So on that topic, I since we are on the issues that that are of most interest to the release. So I started 2 docs, release notes and the user guide. I started put our first PR. Obviously, some part of time I need subject matter experts need to pitch in and add some more contents to it. But there is a start there for both user guide and release notes. And today I was planning to do something similar for the install guide. Obviously, we have skeletons for all 3 of them. So I'm filling up the contents for the main sections. So install guide I will start. I have a few questions about the install guide, which probably we can discuss later in the call. So I think looks like the consensus is that we asked for 2 weeks for the release. And if that's the case, so John, I mean, do you want me to write an email to TSC, or do you want to, or you or Tal want to talk internally to Kandan? How does it work?
I think that either way works for me.
We do have a meeting
I
tomorrow.
guess, yeah, as we're probably. Yeah, but that'll be canceled. That was
Oh,
just for
that was?
release approval. So
I see.
it's actually an off schedule, off week
Right.
meeting. So we should pick the date. What we should decide what date we want to ask for, and then probably Bala, you should send a note. Like Tal and I both had conversations with Kandan about this, so it's not going to be a surprise. And we can tell him offline too. But probably, yeah, you send a note to the TSC just saying that we don't believe the release is ready yet. We need to get the end-to-end test working, and we need to complete more documentation, and we're requesting this date for the release.
Okay, so let's pick a date. I'll do that. So let's pick a date for that. So let me. So we are asking 30th. That's the Friday.
It's fine for me.
So next week you'll be on PTO. So it's anyway. I'm myself. I know incidentally, Vishan myself. We're also traveling to India actually next week. Probably Venkat, if possible, I can catch you up there. So, but we'll be working a few days. At least I don't know about Vish's schedule. I'll be on few days off. He'll be few days working, but I can adjust my schedule accordingly. That's not an issue. So we are. So everybody's okay? 30th, June 30th. Tal.
I mean, the 30th, the reason being that
Yeah.
John is going to be out, and I think he's probably critical for this end-to-end testing and stuff like that. Otherwise, we should. I mean, if I was TSC, I would be like saying, "Hey, when can you get it done sooner?" Right? So, but I can see the point why we need 30th, because he's going to be out for the entire week.
Yeah, I think Tal is also going to be out.
Okay.
So that's
workloads. Yes,
two subject matter experts are out. I would say 2 SMEs out next week.
I mean, it's better to have. Sorry to cut you in. I mean, it's better to have some free space regarding how much time do we have. Let's say the GitHub, has outage that's going out for like 3 days or something. So I'm all in favor of 2 weeks, actually.
Yes.
Yeah, if we get it done earlier, hey, nobody's going to complain, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and also remember, true, and So we have there'll be a scheduled TSC meeting next week. So instead of that, probably we should ask them to. I mean, we can have that. That's fine. But we would ask them to have somewhere around 29th, the TSC meeting for the approval, right? Or do you want to have?
We want to keep it on Thursdays. That's fine with me. I think the 20. We can say we'll go for approval 29th with the plan to release Thursday, so it gives us, or Friday, so it gives us time to tag and whatever if we need to.
Okay.
You know, whatever. It's not. I think the one day there's not. Hopefully, the one day there's not critical anymore.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
I just had a quick note in terms of risk. The end-to-end testing just hasn't gotten to the operators yet, and I have made a kind of change, a big change to the structure of operators last week and upgrades and things like that. So I want to say that if people are working and making progress next week and I'm not available, I am going, I see Dennis is not on the call, but I'm going to volunteer him as a subject matter expert. He knows the operators very well. And if there are issues, they're going to be very small and he would be able to fix them very quickly. You know, if it means reverting something to an earlier version, etc. So, and Stephen too. Stephen is going to be around, I hope, right, Stephen?
Yeah. So for next week, just to make progress, let me sync up with Denny's and Vim and try to get something going.
Yeah,
Also, next
I've
week
been
is a
working a lot with
short
Dennis
week
this
for
week.
some
He's
folks.
just traveling, so
Uh-huh.
I'm volunteering him, but I'm sure he will definitely try to help if he can.
Yeah.
Also, just wanted to mention that Juneteenth, next 19th Monday is a holiday for most companies. So, you know, it'll be a
Yeah.
4
So
day.
for us too. So Monday we off.
It'll be a
So
4 day
yeah,
next week.
That's also true. Yes.
Yeah. All right. So write an email to TSC stating the facts and the asking for 30th is the release date, 29th is the TSC approval date. I'll do that. So with that said, shall we go with the rest of the Scrum? John, what do you suggest?
Yeah, that would be fine. I did want to raise one more logistical question. I believe that this is the last of the series of scrums on the schedule. So what do we want to do? Like, I'll be out next week, but do we want to meet tomorrow? Do we want to do it asynchronously? Do we want to start? Anyway, I thought I'd raise that here.
So
I would suggest that we do it asynchronously. I feel like the time for this meeting. Well, we're making the big decision now. I don't know if a meeting tomorrow would change anything. I think everybody knows what they need to do, and we can communicate on Slack, in my opinion.
Plus one. At least we can try it out the rest of this week and see how it goes.
Yeah, or you know, we could do. I think since Bala is our manager for the coordination, Bala, if maybe we can do it ad hoc and see if Bala, if you think let's say conversations with Slack become confusing or out of sync, then maybe it would be a good idea to call a meeting to just discuss. What do you think, Bala?
Sure. Yeah, we can do that. Can do that, but we should definitely, yeah, we can do that for next week. And for the release week, let's get back to this mode again. How about that?
Probably a good idea, yeah.
Okay, sounds good.
Just one comment, because of this multiple threads, I mean, at least to sync up, if somebody can at least post the key kind of highlights or achievements by the end of the day, that would be good too.
Yeah, I've been trying to post on Slack for the E2E test status each evening. So I'll do that again today at the end of the day. You know, hopefully we'll hopefully it'll be good news. Yeah, so I think that's a good idea.
Sure, thanks.
So sorry, I just have a question. So regarding like the scaling, it is a nice to have feature is going to be part of the deliverables in the first release. So I know that we are very confident on having it, but
it is planned, Victor.
Okay.
It's not a nice to have. Yeah, it is committed actually.
Okay, so yeah, so I think that we have to be very punctual about the things that we're going to deliver, like especially, for example, documentation. I mean, documentation is a huge topic, so it's just like mentioning which are the deliverables, like user guides, release notes, things like that, and the same thing for end-to-end testing. So anyway,
Absolutely, yes, yeah. Yeah, I think we need to probably, I'll take a few issues out of this, and I'll probably add a few more issues to what you said and what Ravi said about making sure to do the end-to-end testing scenario even after the upgrades, right? So probably those may be missing here. I will add those. And then I'll take out a few things out of the board that are not needed. So now that we are so any other topics before we get into some of these issues? All right, so I was thinking we talked about end-to-end test, etc. And Stephen, anything particular on this particular issue that I know you and
Yeah, I posted it on there so very quickly because I have to drop. And yeah, I know the same meetings at Tal and John, and I'll have to go. But then I'm at home, so I have to drive to Mountain View.
Okay.
The thing is, so I have the code. It's working for just my manual test, but then I have to update unit tests. I have to test a little more, and then I also have to do the example package, and then I have to talk to Vim, who is offline right now, obviously, to also integrate to also do the specialization piece, either him or me. So that's the plan. But then the SMF controller piece is there. In fact, I accidentally committed into main branch because I wasn't aware that I was my workspace was actually from Nephew project instead of my fork. So you actually saw me reverting it this morning too. But then that thing is sort of working. But then I need a little more testing. So now that we have a little wiggle room, I'll do that. And then also update unit test because unit test is actually broken after this. And then after this, the package piece, as I said, and then when Vim goes back online, I'll sync with him on see who's going to do the specialization piece.
Cool, thank you, Stephen. Really appreciate it. So Radu, is there any way we can avoid that? What this accidental mistake of directing?
No, I already did. I reverted it already.
No, you did that.
Yeah.
That's fine, Stephen. But I was thinking, from a procedural point of view in GitHub, can we just say somebody directly pushing the code to main?
Most people can't do that. There's only
it's just the four of us. So
permissions.
It's our problem. It's my problem this time. Sorry.
Yeah, but really, yeah, the way you do that is you basically give nobody permission to do that. So people don't accidentally do it. Because it's easy to do. But anyway, yeah.
Sorry. Okay, I have to drop off. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
So while John is still here, so John, the free 5GC and enough packages are deployed successfully onto workload clusters using FEO. It's still work in progress. I can't start that yet because you're still working on that, right?
So the current status, like I said, before I left home, I started an EDE test, but then I haven't been able to check it. But basically, if that test is successful, then what I'm hoping to see is that the UPF deployment resources, which is what the operator uses to actually provision the workloads on the workload clusters, that should be delivered to the right place on the workload cluster and be fully populated. And if that's the case, then if the operator is working, then it should be running and we would be done with that task and that EDE test would be successful. But yeah, so it's kind of like two ifs there. If the changes I made work, and if the operator, which has been independently tested, so theoretically should work, if it works, then we'll be done with that. So there's a decent chance of that being fixed right now, and an even better chance of it being fixed by the end of the day.
Okay, cool. Thank you. So that means I'll wait for your update. Thanks.
Awesome. So Okay, so I'm just heading up a bit instead of going through the every issue because we already discussed a lot of this. So, John, I actually scavenged all the contents that you wrote for the workshop and other places, and I started with the user guide. I put a first draft with some contents in the docs, first PR. It's essentially what you wrote for the a lot of your write-ups only from the workshop and other things, other diagrams here and there. I started putting things together. That's what I did. I did the same thing. I did the thing for the release notes in terms of what features are there, and then the limitations, workarounds, etc. Obviously, there's a first draft there. Then obviously we, as a community, we need to chip in and we need to make it better. Also, I will start doing with the install guide as well today, so that we can have a draft of install guide, so that we'll have all the drafts today for all the 3 docs, and then we can iterate through that. That is that. From the install guide perspective, I had a couple of questions. So from the user side, right? From if at all he wants to set up the sandbox. My understanding is if it is, there are 3 ways. Whether it's a GCE, he or she can just use a launch.sh that John talked about, or we could either use the end-to-end directly GCE, that script if it is if we are setting up a VM in any other environment, or if it's a Vagrant environment, we could just use the Vagrant script. So are those the 3 ways in terms of automation that the user could use? Just wanted to understand before I start writing. This is
Yeah, I wouldn't mention the launch.sh. I would just say use the gcloud command, because the launch.sh is kind of for us to, it's in the repo, and what I would want from a user point of view to start with is something that has nothing to do with the Nefio project, right? Their starting point is they've got GCE set up, so they have gcloud installed. They run this gcloud command. Then similarly, they start with, I don't have GCP, but I have Vagrant. So I start with a VM. What do I do? Right. So those are the sort of, and that would be what Fikra put, curl this pipe to bash. And that's how you do it in that environment. Right. So that kind of makes it, so they start from a non-Nefio place and they end with a sandbox.
okay. So basically they will write they will run that GC init.sh. Is that what they generally do for any environment?
Yeah, for the GCE, you run the gcloud command in it, and you pass it that script, and it does it. For the other environments, you curl that script and pipe it to bash.
Yes. True.
Just one additional thing. Those instructions that you are talking about, it is going to provision the management cluster plus the additional requirements. So you have to make that distinction in case that someone already has their own Kubernetes cluster and they want to use it as a management cluster. So in that case, they can only use like a certain portion of the
so that is, no, that's a good point. So this is to set up a sandbox. If you want to set up, bring your own cluster type of environment, you're much more on your own. We'll have to have a separate set of instructions for that. But yeah, that won't have all the other functionality. So.
Yes, that was my next question. Actually, Victor brought it up. So from we have the instructions for bring your own VM now, or on the GCE if we have instructions for those, and then we have instructions for Windows Vagrant as well. I saw that one PR was there. So for bring your own cluster, it's mostly how do you think it's going to be manual instructions that we're going to put in, or is there anything automated for that as well?
I think that's going to be manual instructions, like pull this package from here, kept live apply. I think we'll just make that super manual.
Probably we can reuse some of them, like the Ansible. I mean, that's the install Ansible role, so where we can reuse it and maybe, but I haven't tested to be honest.
It's not been validated. So if you bring your own cluster, because with the kind you have MetalLB that provides that routing, I guess, but to bring your own cluster, if you have to bring multiple clusters, I know I have a few
Yeah,
of them there, so it's not been
I'm
validated.
concerned that the way I think that I think there's like there's a couple different Ansible things, what do you call them, playbooks, but I'm not sure that they cleanly separate core Nefio from Sandbox, and so I don't want to start mocking with them because we can break stuff. So that's what I'm just thinking, like, just tell people this.
And also, like, we have a hard dependency of cluster API. I mean, especially like using to provision the worker the worker nodes, the worker clusters. So yeah, in that case, yeah, it's going to be. We have to think about how.
Yeah.
To,
So Victor, like, none of that functionality will be there for bring your own cluster. Like, unless, like, my thinking is bring your own cluster is. So recall the infrastructure is like we only support CAPI in kind, and so if you want to, I guess you could set those CAPI in kind up yourself. We could give instructions for how to do that, but like if what you're trying to do is test this in a real world type of scenario, then you're probably gonna have to provision all the clusters yourself and just use it for the workload provisioning.
Yeah, and we'll value any feedback given by anybody who tries that, so that we can help fix it, right?
But we're not committing to that for.
We're not committing. Yeah, no. If
Okay,
somebody wants to
gotcha.
try that, that's great finding, and they can always bring those findings to us.
Yeah, true. I mean, they have to set up their own cluster. That's fine. Obviously, we cannot even span workload cluster at that point of time. So all the whole infrastructure orchestration is up to the user. So is it the same case with the repos too then, John, or do you think they're still going to use?
Repos we only support automatic provisioning of Git repos. If you're using GitHub or GitLab or something else, we don't currently support automated provisioning of that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I know that. So my question is how much we need to document them, or okay, it's good to, in one way, it's good to give them all these options. This is what we could do, but obviously we're not tested those things. So what do you think, John? How far we need to go in terms of documenting all these options in our install guide?
Probably not that far, because like that, most people are just going to use the sandbox to try it out right now. And like, so if you look at the original TSC slides, we said, here, we're going to list these limitations, and like, was like, you know, we haven't tested in this, you know, anything other than this environment. You haven't, you know, like, I'm okay with that. Like, I think we should, let's put that as a low priority for the documentation, is that scenario. And if we have time, we can fill in more details there to try and help somebody along in that journey if they want to try it.
Yeah, absolutely. I've already started putting a lot of limitations. If you can take a look at the release notes I put in. So I mentioned some of these as already. All right, so I'll take a stab at this one. I would once I make the initial cut, Ravi, Victor, and Vish, please take a look, and let's enhance the installation document between today and tomorrow, so that it's in some decent shape, and then probably SMEs can take a look at it, and they can enhance it further.
All right, folks, I'm sorry, I need to drop off for this other call. So,
Cool.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, John. So
I need to drop too. I'm sorry about quickly an update. I've talked to Kandan already, and he says please email him and Sana directly instead of the whole TSC.
Okay.
If you can, and he'll handle it.
Okay, I'll do that. Thanks for the guidance. Thanks, Tom. Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. I need to drop too.
Okay, thanks, Todd. Yeah, I think if others can hang on, I have a couple of questions about the installation. So, so this is Victor, Ravi, and Vish, and others too, like Rado. So, what is the Ubuntu version we're actually supporting? I saw two things. One in some places I saw Ubuntu 20, and then some places it's a 22. Do we support both, or do we support only one?
2004, according to Victor. I know easier to speak for himself, but I've been following 2004 because of some kernel module.
Yeah, the free 5G kernel model has that limitation in terms of kernel.
Oh, it's 2004. Okay, because
I think I use I don't know, my kernel says 2204, but I have worked. I mean, I've used the latest kernel. I mean, whenever I provisioned the VM, I never chose the. I just went with the whatever was the latest one. I didn't particularly choose because though the free 5GC documentation specifies it, but I think you could still compile and enable the Linux module in the later versions too, Victor. I think I've done it. The GTP 5G. So that's a module, right? You're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so at least mine is running on 2204. So.
Yeah, I saw both the things. That's why I asked. So, okay.
For what is what, SMF is running on 2004.
So which network function depends on this GTP module, Victor?
Well, just in general, like one of the steps is you have to compile that kernel module. I just pasted in the chat. You're saying like you have to have kernel 5.00 generic, and it doesn't have to be upper than 5.4.
Yeah, but to answer your question, which I mean, all the data plane is on GTP. So from the UERAN SIM to the UPF, and the UPF, no, from the UPF and 6 is normal, but the G-node beat to the UPF, I mean, it uses the GTP. So UPF uses GTP primarily.
I see.
Yeah,
because
the UERAN SIM also uses it. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
The reason I'm asking that is because I have not been able to bring up the workload clusters yet successfully. I just want to be able to look for it. If I try it on 2204 or 2004 and say, yeah, it's not coming up because of this reason or something. I just wanted to be aware. Thank you.
Is it possible to settle on 2004 for Ubuntu just to eliminate another variation to Slate?
That's a good idea.
I mean, we can do 2204 after release, right? We can expand the base, right? But right now we should lock things down instead of having too many variations.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
2004 is also LTS version, so it will be supported until 2025. Yep. So it's better to stick to 2004 for foreseeable future. So we're not introducing the external problems with compatibility and stuff.
Yeah, I vote. Yes, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just trying to say because when you, I think with the end-to-end test in the README and all, when you just follow what John has there, right? I mean, you don't specify kernel. I mean, it's just okay. GCP, you bring up a VM, and by default, I think it chooses the 2204, one of these versions, right? So and it works. So yeah, if we want, I think I don't know. How, it's basically based on the the size of the VM. I think that's what I don't know. The kernel has to be mentioned there. Then I don't know. Probably that has to be modified there to ensure you always land up with this. I mean, you pick the right Ubuntu version.
Yeah, I think we should go with what our end-to-end test is doing at this point of time, right? I think for end-to-end test, I think we are using 20.04. But if 22.04 works, I mean, that's what Ravi you are using as a good point. At some point of time, we can also add that to our end-to-end test matrix
No, like, that's what I'm saying, Vish. I mean, I just followed that README, right?
I think it
picks
is
2204 for
2004.
me.
I thought it was 2004. Maybe I should look it up because anyway, I'll look into it.
Yeah, you can just check it though. Yeah, if you're following, probably it's still picking this. The only difference I make, I just
No, it
bring
is
down the storage to
2004
100 gig.
LTS.
So
It is 2004 LTS.
okay.
Yeah.
And what is the GTP module, the version of that is needed?
It's in the chat.
Yeah, version I'm
Victor,
not
Victor posted
sure.
in the
but-
chat.
It's
So Bala, what you can do
okay.
is you can
Okay.
actually have in your template those placeholders, and then one of us who actually review it will fill those in. You know,
Okay,
we'll fill
thank
it in for you. If it's in the documentation, we'll go. I mean, instead of we'll fill it in up for you.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Yeah, awesome. So that is that. And then other thing, GCE init. So again, this GCE init script, right? Again, my understanding is that can be used to create not only the environment in GCE, but that could be used to create, for example, OpenStack VM or a KVM or any other VM that we want to. We could use the same script. Is it true? If
yeah, it's the name. I was gonna to bring this up. The name might be a bit misleading. I've actually started it, naming it GCE something, init or something. But yeah, you're right. You basically drop it in any VM, if it's AWS, GCP, OpenStack, whatever, and just run it manually. It will set up the sandbox. So yeah, it's non-GCP specific.
okay, so there's the cases we are going to document that. So Redo, do you think we can rename that scripting? Something like Nephew init or something?
Yeah, maybe sandbox init or something.
No. Isn't end-to-end test script specifically refer to GCE blah blah blah? So if we change the name, we have to go change the script, and that's introduced variation right now.
I mean, it's referenced by, for example, the Terraform
It's okay if you do not
scripts.
want to change it, right? If you do not want to change it, can you write a wrapper? Can we write a wrapper script that internally calls this, and then we document that?
No, because that's right now there's an end-to-end or launch.sh, right? That specifically mentioned the script by name. If we change the script or write a wrapper or whatever, you have to go back upstream and change the other script also. And
not if you write a wrapper, right? Not the wrapper. Let's say wrapper is only for the end user purposes. When I say wrapper, it will simply call internally this GCE.
But that still introduce potential confusion. If I'm, an end user, look at it and say, well, your launch.sh called this, and you're telling us to call the other one.
Yeah, I think there was an initial. Sorry, just to put in, but there was an initial comment on the original kind of PR written by John. There was a comment asking around. So just moving everything out of the GCE init, apart from the metadata grab from Google Cloud. So that I was kind of half working on that at the moment locally, but I know there's a lot of stuff changing there at the moment, so I didn't want to push anything in. But essentially, yeah, the GCE should only be just the grep or the grab of the metadata from Google Cloud, and then all of the other platforms would just call an intermediary script, like
Yeah, and I think
sandbox install or set up sandbox or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, and if I could just comment as well, I think maybe it's better to have a small bit of confusion. I think it's only very minor. It's only renaming of something now rather than confusing our users. Like say, oh, on OpenStack, why am I running this GCE thing? or on AWS. So I think it's better to fix it now before we go out on it with this, you know, because I'd say many people won't be using GCE, you know, when they come to try it out, you know.
No, that's a good point.
You know,
I'm
if
just-
you're explaining, you're losing, you know. So.
Actually,
No,
we have
that's a
used
good
the
point.
same
I'm just
script for
worried that introducing variation at this later stage and we're slipping already, right? So if
Yeah, but it's just a reference to 2 or 3 scripts, isn't it? It's
okay. I mean, that's fine. I
can
just want
make
to.
that change. Yeah, and validate that did not breaking anything.
Cool.
Yeah.
Rona, sorry, I was cutting you off.
Yeah, actually, I was saying that we were using same script for AWS. So we haven't used that EKS for AWS, but that GC script provisioned the sandbox in AWS
Yeah,
with the kind.
I think we should either in my view we should do two things, because we are going to document this in the install guide. The install guide, we are going to say in any environment. So either write a wrapper like I think it was Liam who was suggesting like a setup sandbox, or change this to something and then change the reference to everywhere else. So either we have to do either one of the two things. So what is the easiest thing, or rather the best thing I would say is to rename. But if we rename this, do you think that's going to cause a lot of issues elsewhere? I think
No, any small thing like this that we keep continuing to do like this, you know, is just going to add to the
no, this is
what I
this
feel.
is not a small thing, which we cannot document this. We cannot say, if you want to install in your OpenStack environment or a VMware environment, you run GCE script.
No, that script has got nothing to do with GCE, because the metadata is the only piece when you are running in GCE. That is the only piece that you have. Otherwise, it's very it's got nothing to do with GCE, even though it may be called GCE.
Yeah, that's exactly the reason why we cannot say.
I wouldn't even know what GCE is until I know it's Google Cloud, whatever it is. I don't even know what the full form of GCE is.
Google Cloud environment.
It could be called
VCE
and still would run, you know, and we wouldn't even know what VCE is then. That's all I'm saying.
Quick question for Victor. Did I hear you correctly that if we make the change, you can test it in non-GCE environment?
Yes, actually, I have a PR open, which I'm just centralize the use. I mean, Vagrant is going to consume the same GCE init script as well as the CI. So all basically this change, I can place in the chat the PR. So I think right now is the right time to make that verification. I guess if we have that particular confusion right now, what can we imagine for the end users who are not familiar with the
exactly.
I would draw my objection if you can make the change and test it before, you know, and then if it works, then there's no reason to not changing, right?
You can test it.
The point is testing.
It will be the first filter for users.
And can we wait on this until, you know, let John get his end-to-end test running, you know, we can wait until we get it done. So I don't want to actually go for him to have, something changed. And, you know,
No, this is only a PR, right? Wish it's fine because
you can have a PR, but don't merge it, because some PRs are getting auto merged.
Yeah, that's fine. That's okay. If we, as long as we take an action item. My thing is, since I got into this documentation things, when I started this, it did not feel right to me to document.
How about this? We voice this in Slack to John to make sure that we're not blindsiding him, right? I know it's a minor change, but
yes, sure, and that's a good idea.
Make sure he's aware and he agrees.
In general, I'm going to still say it, right? This minor changes like this will keep adding up. This nice to has will keep adding up.
I
As
know.
somebody who has done this in the past, I know this, you know, and we want to make sure that at least the end-to-end test, John said he'll have it done by the end of the day. After that, maybe then, we can push all this and merge this. And at
Yeah,
least
let's communicate with John because he's doing the end-to-end, and if we change thing underneath him, it's not gonna be helpful, right?
Okay. Yeah,
I
absolutely.
think even end to end would mean like, you got to wait till, I think end to end for me is the call going through, because then you're testing the networking, the network functions, everything.
Yeah, no, I think there are some
Then,
issues with the operators coming up in certain namespaces is what I heard at a high level that John is trying to fix. I think if he thinks that will be the groundbreaking thing for what we can do next. So at least we want to
exactly.
make
No, I'm
sure
just saying that
yeah.
even with any new modifications and all that, so we have to keep that as stable as possible. I would think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
because yesterday I actually tested it on a bare metal. I created a VM. I followed all the instructions. The only thing I didn't have to use was the metadata, and then it worked. So maybe it's a familiarity for me, right? I understand there is confusion. Yeah, I'm not trying to disregard any of your comments. I'm only saying that let's do it. Let's delay it a little bit.
yeah, this
Oh,
is
curious.
honestly, this is the only reason I'm suggesting this, because this is, to me, is a minor change, and this is a user-facing change.
Correct.
So
I understand. I totally understand. Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
So okay. So can we pick a name for it? What do you want to rename it, Victor?
Sorry, but what is it going to be the name?
Yeah, name of the script. What do you want to how are you going to rename the script to, from GC init to? Are you going to say something like setup sandbox or something?
No, maybe just remove the prefix, the GC prefix. So just init or something like that, I guess. That's a good name. And the same thing for the sandbox. It has the same prefix like GC sandbox install. So I guess having like a sandbox install is good enough to remove that confusion.
Yeah, I would suggest something on lines with what Bala said. We call it as Nefio sandbox, and so that it's intuitive. If you just put in it, then it's open to interpretation.
Or maybe we'll comment on his PR. We don't have to do it.
Yeah, that's fine.
Quick question for Vish.
Yeah.
When you said a bare metal VM, what was that? Was that Linux OS?
Yeah, I have a Linux OS. I have a Fedora running. On that, I've installed KVM, and I use Verge to create, the virtual machine manager. I downloaded the 28.04 Ubuntu image, and I create a VM from there. I got plenty of RAM and plenty of disk there, so I created one with 8 cores and 32 gig. This was yesterday, I think. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So I was able to do that. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. So I think those were the main things I wanted to discuss today. So I'll create an issue for renaming the script, Victor, or send that to you. And then I really appreciate your help on this. And then probably we'll start with the documentation. And please, like I said, let's pitch in this week, and let's try to get in some shape for the install guide. So
so Bala, is it 158, 159, those items where the links are and all?
Yes. Yeah, 159.
Okay,
yeah.
sure.
Yeah, 158. There is I put in in the docs, I put in a PR for user guide and release notes. Please feel free to take a look at that also. It's in okay, it's in Nefio. If I go to the so if it is
Sorry, I'm late for something. I have to drop. Bye. Thank you.
okay, that's fine. Thanks. So it's in docs folder. There are a few PRs. So that's for the user guide and release notes. I'm planning to do the same thing for the install guide too, to start a draft, obviously, and then probably we can pitch in and complete the documentation.
Okay, I just wanted to know where it is. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, thank you. So is there anything else we need to discuss?
I think there's just one item which was on yesterday. Just scroll up a little bit.
Okay.
It was the add timeout keep live that is on.
That one is done.
Yeah, I just submit a PR and John approve it.
Thanks, Victor. Let me just. Thanks. So, anything else? All right. Thank you, everyone. I will. I don't. Yeah, I think tomorrow we have a meeting. I think probably. I don't know whether tomorrow or day after. I had to look at the calendar. We have still the meeting tomorrow. We may still have. Yeah. See you then. Thank you so much. Have a good one.
Thanks, Bala.
Yeah, thanks very much, Bala. Bye.
Yeah,
Thanks,
thanks.
thanks
Bye-bye.
everyone. Bye.
Bye.